We continue now at the top of Daf Ayin Aleph from Meseches Eruvin. This is Eruvin Daf 71b. The Gemara is discussing the machlokas in the Mishnah about whether a regular partnership can count for a shitufei mavos. So let's say, for example, you have three residents of a mavui, and they're all partners with one another. So one guy is a partner with one of them in wine, and he's a partner with the other guy in oil. So in such a situation, the Rabbanan say that partnership doesn't work to create a shituf because it's different partnerships. One's in wine, one's in oil. Rabbi Shimon says, no, it still works. Even if one partnership is in wine and the other partnership is in oil, it all merges together and it creates a shitufei mavos. So the question is, what is the nekudas hamachlokas? What is the basis of this issue? And now the Gemara offers an alternative understanding. Rav Yosef explains as follows: Rabbi Shimon v'Rabbanan bepluksa de Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri v'Rabbanan kamiflagi. Rabbi Shimon and the Rabbanan are actually having the same machlokas that we find between Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri and the Rabbanan. It's not because we learned in a Mishnah as follows: Shemen shetzaf al gabe yayin. Let's say you have oil that's floating on top of wine. V'naga tvul yom b'shemen, and then somebody who is a tvul yom, he's tamei, he touches the oil. Lo pasal elo shemen bilvad. He only pasels the oil. He does not pasel the wine. In that case, they're considered separate entities. Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri says shneyen chiburin zelazet. The two are attached to one another, so the entire thing becomes pasel. Rashi says the case over here is that these things are truma, but in any case, what's the machlokas? The machlokas here between the Rabbanan and Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri is when you have oil and wine together, is that considered attached in one unit, or is it two separate things, one on top of the other? So Rabbanan, Karabbanan, the Rabbanan in our Mishnah follow the Rabbanan over here in this Mishnah, the idea being they're separate items, and therefore if one of the people has a partnership in oil with one resident, and he's got a partnership in wine with the other, those two things can never merge together, and it cannot create a shitufei mavos. Rabbi Shimon, Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri, Rabbi Shimon disagrees. He holds like Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri, and he holds that it merges together into one unit, and therefore the shituf is fine. Gemara now continues with the Braisa. Tanya, we learned in a Braisa. Rabbi Elazar ben Tadoy Omer, Rabbi Elazar ben Tadoy says, Echod zeh v'echod zeh tzrichen la'arif. It doesn't matter if it's wine and oil, or if it's all wine. Let's say there were two partnerships, that one of the residents is a partner with one guy in wine, and he's a partner with the other guy in wine. It's all wine. Even that does not work, and they still need to make an Eruv. So the Gemara asks on this Braisa, V'afilu lazeh b'yayin v'lazeh b'yayin. It's even a problem if it's all wine. Why should that be a problem? Certainly it's all the same item. It should merge everybody together, and it should create a situation where you don't need a shitufei mavos. So Amar Rab explains as follows: Zeh ba b'legino v'shafach, v'zeh ba b'legino v'shafach. Look, if this guy would come with his bunch of wine and he'd pour it into a barrel, and the other guy would come with his bunch of wine and he would pour it into a barrel, into the same barrel. So in that situation, if everybody agrees that each one took their independent wine, poured it all into one barrel, that would certainly create a situation where you no longer need an Eruv. Rashi over here says, they filled the barrel. They didn't do this for the purpose of a shitufei mavos. That's not why they did it. So you can still rely on it, because each person brought wine, and that's fine. Aval, as we'll see in the Gemara, but let's say they buy one barrel of wine together as partners. So Svir Leila ben Tadoy holds ein breira, that we don't have breira. V'havalu kamisha nishtatzfu b'mos shelo huvra yayin l'chol echad v'yachad. In such a situation, it's like a partnership where it's not clear any wine belongs to any particular individual, and that is not going to work. Rashi over here, the Gemara here continues and says, so Rabbah says, if they each pour in their own wine into a barrel, that's fine. But when do they argue? Could go when you have a situation where they buy the wine in partnership. Rabbi Elazar ben Tadoy savar ein breira. Rabbi Elazar ben Tadoy says there is no breira. So therefore, you can never say that we've got that each person is, so to speak, bringing his own wine in and joining it together for a shituf. But Rabbanan Savri yesh breira. The Rabbanan say no, there is breira. So each partner really owns a portion of this wine, and now it's all together in one barrel, and that can serve as a shitufei mavos. Rav Yosef says a different understanding, a different answer for Rabbi Elazar ben Tadoy. Rabbi Elazar ben Tadoy v'Rabbanan b'somchen al shituf b'makom erev kamifli. Rabbi Elazar ben Tadoy and the Rabbanan are actually arguing about a completely different issue. They're arguing whether, when you make a shitufei mavos, do you also need to make an erev? That's actually the question. In other words, it might be a perfectly good shituf. There was a separate issue, and we'll see it in a moment. There's a separate issue. When you make a shituf, do the people in the chutzner also need to make an erev, or again, the way it works is you have a bunch of houses in a chutzner, and then you have a bunch of those chatzeros make up a mavui. So maybe when you just do the shitufei mavos, that's enough. That's actually the issue. Rashi over here says, "B'somchan hashituf b'makam erev kamiflgi uven tadoy moded the mavui mutter." Ben Tadoy admits the mavui itself, the alleyway itself, you can carry in because the shituf works. Uvechatzeros pligi rab pligi. It's only a machlokas in the actual courtyards in this mavui whether you can carry. Rabbanan Savri came in the nishtatzvu b'mavui in Tzrich l'Arav. The Rabbanan are saying once you made a shituf, you don't need an erev in Tzrich l'Arav chatzeros. Zuim zu the chatzeros don't need to make an erev. For example, you can carry from one chatzor to the other if there's doors that connect them. The shitufim avos connects them all. You're allowed to use the shituf instead of the erev, and Ben Tadoy says no, that's never allowed. If you make a shitufim avos, fine, it works for the mavui, but you still need to make a separate erev chatzeros for the chatzeros. That's actually the machlokas. So again, Rabbi Elazar ben Tadoy v'Rabbanan b'samchin al shituf v'makam erev kamiflagi. They're arguing whether we can rely on a shitufim avos and not have an erev at all. That's kamiflagi. That's the machlokas. The Mar Savar ein somchin, Mar Savar somchin. One says you can't rely on such a thing, and the other one says it's fine. Amar Rav Yosef. Now Rav Yosef says again. Rav Yosef, who is giving this answer and saying that the machlokas is whether you can rely on shituf without an erev. He says, where can I prove that this is the case? Because Rabbi Yehuda said in the name of Rav, halacha Rabbi Meir. The halacha is like Rabbi Meir. Now Rabbi Meir, we'll see in a moment, says the same idea that you're not allowed to rely on a shituf you're not allowed to rely on a shituf and not do an erev. That's the same halacha as this. So Rabbi Yehuda said in the name of Rav, we're strict in this regard. You need to make an erev even if you've made a shituf. V'yamar Rav Bruna amar Rav, and Rav Bruna said also in the name of Rav, the same Rav, halacha Rabbi Elazar ben Tadoy, that the halacha is like Rabbi Elazar ben Tadoy, who seemingly, according to Rav Yosef, said the exact same thing. You cannot rely on a shituf for your erev chatzeros. So my time, what's the reason why Rav is making both statements? Lav mishum dechad taimu. Obviously, it's all one thing. In other words, Rav is it's the same psak. The same psak like Rabbi Meir is the same psak like Rabbi Elazar ben Tadoy. That's why he's saying that. Amar le Abaya. So Abaya said back, what kind of proof is that? Vichad taimu. If it's all the same reason, tarti hilchasa lamali. What do you have to say it twice for? So on the contrary, the fact that Rav makes a statement that the halacha is like Rabbi Meir, and Rav makes a statement that the halacha is like Rabbi Elazar ben Tadoy, should show that they're separate issues, not the same issue. So the Gemara says, no. Hakamash malan. No, it does need to be said twice because it teaches us to lo avdinon ketrei chumre be'erevin, that it's not an issue of making two chumras when it comes to erevin. Rashi over here explains. If it's all the same reason, why do you have to say it twice? Why do you have to say the halacha is like Rabbi Meir and the halacha is like Rabbi Elazar ben Tadoy? The Rav lemeimra b'tarvayu has to say in both cases that's the halacha. Bishalom halacha Rabbi Meir. Rashi explains, I understand to say the halacha is like Rabbi Meir. That actually is needed. The imi de Rabbi Elazar, because if you only said the halacha was like Rabbi Elazar, hava amina taima de Rabbi Elazar lav mishum dein somchan al shituf. You might have thought that the reason of Rabbi Elazar had nothing to do with the fact that a shituf doesn't work as an erev also. Ela mishum de kasavar ein me'arvin b'chatzeros b'yayin. It could be Rabbi Elazar holds you're not allowed to make an erev chatzeros with a wine. We're going to see coming up that there's an issue whether you need to use bread for an erev chatzeros. Or no, wine would also work for an erev chatzeros. So it is possible. Another pshat Rabbi Elazar ben Tadoy could have been the reason why the shitufim avos, which you're making here with wine, doesn't work for the chatzer is because you're never allowed to make an eruv chatzeros with wine. Rabbi Meir lekamon. That's actually Rabbi Meir himself says that later on. You're not allowed to make an eruv chatzeros with wine. V'hai shituf de ben Tadoy diyayin. When we know the case of ben Tadoy was with wine, kediktani masnisin lo zeh b'yayin v'lo zeh b'yayin. That's exactly what it says in the Mishnah. Hilkach lo samchin ole b'chatzeros. That might be the reason you can't use it by a chatzer. Aval ha'echad in ishtatzvu b'pas. But it could be when you did it with bread. Let's say they made a shitufim avos with bread. Somchin maybe you would be able to rely on it for the erev chatzeros. Kamash malon halacha Rabbi Meir. That's why you need to say the halacha is like Rabbi Meir to ukma Rav Gidol amarav lekamon b'nishtatzvu b'pas. Where we're going to say that's even by bread. Even if you made the shitufim avos with bread, even that's not going to work for your erev chatzeros. Rabbi Meir still says it's a problem. But the point is, if you've already said the halacha is like Rabbi Meir, that even bread doesn't work, we are still stuck. Why do you need to say halacha is like Rabbi Elazar? And so then Rashi explains the response as follows: Hakamash malon the law of dinan ketrei chumri be'erevin. The chiddush here is the reason why he says it twice is because it teaches us that we don't do two chumras in erevin. Meaning, mi'itzrich le l'rav l'meimer halacha keben tadoy. The fact that he needs to say the halacha is like ben tadoy, ashma'inan the law of dinan ketrei chumri. That tells us that we don't follow two chumras, the chad tana be'erevin, of one tana when it comes to hilchas erevin. Meaning, Rabbi Meir trei chumrei amar. Rabbi Meir himself is one tana. He actually holds of two chumras, and if he was the only one to say these two chumras, we wouldn't follow him in both. He says as follows. What does he say? He says, Ein somchen b'chatzeros al shituf mavui. He says, we don't rely in chatzeros on a shituf mavos, bein sheneshtatvu b'pas, ubein sheneshtatvu b'yayin. Whether you do it with bread, whether you do it with wine, it never works. Upligi Rabbana lev pas. Now, when it comes to bread, the Rabbana disagree and say it does work. Umodu le b'neshtatvu b'yayin, but they agree with him by wine, it does not work. Now, the Rabbanan over here in the Mishnah, they say that even when it comes to wine, you can rely on it for Eruvei Chatzeros. So it comes out that Rabbi Meir really is having two chumras over here. He's not relying on it when it comes to bread, and he's not relying on it when it comes to wine. Now, Rav holds like both chumras. But he can't say the halacha is like Rabbi Meir in both chumras. That's why in one of them he says, well, we're really following Ben Tadoy. Where Ben Tadoy says we don't rely on Eruvin Chatzeros using a shituf that was done with wine. And then in the other machlokas of Rabbi Meir and the Rabbanan by bread, Ashmina halacha Rabbi Meir says the halacha is like Rabbi Meir. In other words, when it comes to Eruvin, which in general we're usually lenient in Hilchas Eruvin, you can't paskin a double chumrah of one Tana. You wouldn't be able to paskin the double chumrah of Rabbi Meir. Therefore, says Rav Yosef, that's the reason why Rav made two separate statements. The halacha is like Rabbi Meir, and the halacha is like Rabbi Elazar ben Tadoy. So you have two separate Tanoim, two separate chumras that he is paskening like. The Gemara now says, "My Rabbi Meir or my Rabbanan." Now, what is this machlokas here, Rabbi Meir and Rabbanan, that we're talking about? The Tanya we learned in the Brayso as follows: Ma'arvin b'chatzeros bepas. Again, it says you make an eruv chatzeros with bread. You can't use wine for an eruv chatzeros. When it comes to shitufei mavos, you can use wine. And that's l'chatchila v'imratzu l'shtatef b'pas mishtatfin. If you want to do it with bread, you can do that as well. Ma'arvin b'chatzeros u'mishtatfin b'mavoi. Then it says further, we make an eruv chatzeros and we do shitufei mavos. Shelo l'shakeach toras eruv min hatinokos. That way the children won't forget the concept of eruv. If we only did one of them, they might forget the other. Sheyom ravoseinu lo eruv, because people will think, oh, our fathers didn't make an eruv here. Divrei Rabbi Meir. That's Rabbi Meir's chumrah again. Rabbi Meir saying you got to do both. You can't just rely on the shitufei mavos. The Chachamim say, O Ma'arvin, O Mishtatzvin. And they say, no, either you can make an Erev or a Shituf, you don't actually need to do both. The Gemara now says, Pligi bar Rav Nechumei v'Rabba. There's a machlokas between Rabbi Nechumei and Rabba. The Bach over here says, Pligi bar Rav Rechumei v'Rabba, Bar Yosef, Chad Amar, so it takes a slightly different gears over here. But in any case, Pligi bar Rav Nechumei v'Rabba, Chad Amar b'pas t'kuli almalo pligi t'v'chodasagi. So there's a machlokas between Rav Nechumei and Rabba. One opinion says, when it comes to bread, there is no machlokas. Certainly, you can just do one of them. You can just do, let's say, the shitufei mavos. Ki pligi b'yayin. The whole machlokas between the Rabbanan and Rabbi Meir is only by wine. Rashi over here explains. V'imratzu la'arev b'yayin ein ma'arvin. Again, the Brisa said, if you want to use wine for an eruv chatzeros, it's no good. The Eruv Misham Diru, because Eruv works as a dir, it's your living quarters. La'arev diras and la'asos and achas, we're all living in one place, so to speak. Kidamar b'perek misha otziu, v'diraso shel adam eino nimshach achar yayin. Where a person lives doesn't follow where wine is. Alachar pito, people live where their bread is. Umishtatzvin b'mavoi b'yayin. When it comes to a mavoi, wine does work. The sheet of the mavoi, eino el l'shatef reshus hachatzer sheb'mavoi. What is a sheet of? It's just a partnership of the reshus of the chatzeros. V'lo reshus habatim. It's not the houses where a person lives. It's the chatzeros. The chatzer lav beis diruhu. Chatzer is not an area of living. The kol shekain pas the chashav tvei. Now for sure, bread is going to work. That's even more chashav. That would for sure be effective. And then it said, Ma'arvin v'chatzeros hapsuchos mizulazu avavi shirvu derech peschein. Let's say you made an erev chatzeros because they have their independent entrances, one chatzer to the other. We're talking about a scenario where you don't need to go through the mavoi to get from one chatzer to the next. So the halach is tzrichen, according to Rabbi Meir, tzrichen l'shtatef b'mavoi lahater ha'mavoi. You also need a shitufei mavos in order to matter the mavoi. It's not good enough. You can't rely on the erev chatzeros for the mavoi and vice versa also. V'imlav chatzeros mutaros mizulazu mavoi yasef. If you don't make a shituf, the chatzeros will be okay, the mav will be a problem. If you can't rely on an eruv for a shituf, you can't rely on a shituf for an eruv. Let's say the people of the chatzeros did not make an eruv, but they made a shituf. Again, if you do this, people will forget about the concept of eruv. But let's say every chatzer makes its own eruv, and they all make a shituf mavos. So in that case, even though you did not make in Eruve Chatzeros together one Chatzer to the next, Shituf Hamavi Mechaber, and then actually the Shituf would connect them all, and then you can go from one to the other, through the Mavoi, through the doors, it doesn't matter. That's the whole point of the statement, that a Mavoi to Chatzer is the same as a Chatzer to a house. Just like an Eruv makes all the houses one, the same thing with Shituf, it makes all the Chatzeros one. So the Gemara had said when it comes to bread, one opinion of one Amora was when it comes to bread, that's for sure okay, because if you do, let's say, a shitufei mavos with bread, bread is effective for an Erev also, so that's going to work. That's what the Gemara over here had said. When it comes to bread, the Rabbanan and Rabbi Meir agreed, just make one and that's going to be just fine. Ki pligi beyayin. Rashi explains, according to this Amora, the machlokas between Rabbi Meir and the Rabbanan is by wine. Beyayin b'mavoi. If they make a shitufei mavos with wine in the mavoi, to Rabbi Meir lo samchina le beruv chatzeros de ma'arvin lechatzeros beyayin. According to Rabbi Meir, you can't use wine for an erev chatzeros, so that's not going to be good. Well, the Rabbanan shari, and the Rabbanan say it's fine. V'avagav the yayin b'chatzer lo chazi. Now, even though wine for an erev chatzeros is not good, migo de chazi lemilse b'shituf. But since wine is good for a shituf, which is primarily what you're doing, samchina le b'chatzer, you can then use that for the chatzer as well, according to the Rabbanan. The modus lan de samchin al shituf b'makam erev, because you could use a shituf b'makam erev. Utar value is lu de samchin b'mavoi al eruve chatzeros shuli olam shall pass. Now everybody agrees that you can do that when you're doing it with bread. That's one Amora's interpretation of this machlokas over here, and we'll continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Ayin Beis Amud Aleph.